Skip, you know I've been outspoken on against both parties, the NFLPA and the NFL.
You have?
But on this occasion, I side with the NFLPA. Because what we're seeing here, Skip, is that the NFL has very, very selective memory when it comes to leak. Now, Skip, and I'm asking you, and you can answer this if you feel free. Who do you think leaked the testimony that Tom Brady either destroyed or wouldn't turn over his cell phone? Would that be Tom Brady and his representative Don Yee, or would that be the NFL?
I'm pretty sure that was the NFL.
Okay, what about that video footage of the ball boy going into the bathroom, staying for 90 seconds, and then coming out? Would that be Tom Brady leaking that, or would that be the NFL?
Probably the NFL.
Drug suspensions. Let me tell you how drug suspensions work. The NFL gets the information through the testing lab. They tell the NFL, NFL sends it to the NFLPA, who then notifies the player.
Correct.
How does Adam Schefter and these reporters get an opportunity to report such and such has been suspended 4 games, 6 games, or for indefinitely? How do they get that information, Skip? Why would the NFLPA or a player's agent leak damaging information about such said player? Interesting. You hear reporters all the time, my sources in the NFL.
Yeah.
Oh, you got sources. So somebody in the NFL is leaking such said information. Now the NFL has a problem with leaks. You never have a problem with leaks if the information that they're leaking isn't true. See, Skip, I'm a believer in truth. Say whatever you want to say about me. I might not like it. If it's true, I got to bite my tongue. I got to grit and bear it. But if it's false, I'm going to defend myself. And they try to go to this antiquated, because this is how in sexual assault cases or domestic, well, they're trying to sully it up. They're trying to discredit the victim. Skip, they didn't say anything about she might have had 10, 15 partners. They didn't say anything about what she might have done, what her occupation might be. All they're pointing to is inconsistencies in her stories in which she told investigators and she told Lisa Friel, who heads up the Commissioner's Council. That's all they pointed out. Nothing else. But because they're pointing out the inconsistencies and with her story, and how could the NFL, with all these inconsistencies, come up with the narrative that this happened? Skip, my sources tell me that on one of the night in question, she got into a fight.
The last night in question.
But the
one in which she called the police.
Yeah, but the NFL said those bruises didn't come from this altercation they had. They had to have come from Zeke. Really? She made it known that her and Zeke were not in an exclusive relationship. Skip, look, NFL, stop with this. First of all, when it comes right down to it, you and I both know this, Skip. The NFL has a credibility and a trust issue with its patrons. They don't believe that the NFL is on the up and up on everything. And they always try to portray themselves as the victims. No, you want what's in the best interest of the National Football League. Whether it's truth or not is inconsequential to you, because you want the appearance to your fan base that we're doing everything we can to combat this issue. Skip, and I believe they are. But sometimes they'll come to a conclusion when the facts don't support that. See, Skip, it's kind of like fishing. You ever been fishing, Skip?
Yes.
Back in the day when I was going fishing, Joy, I didn't have a particular thing I fished for. I fished for whatever bite. Because whatever bit the hook, we were going to take it home, we were going to clean it, cook it, and eat it. See, the NFL cooks by dynamite. They fish by dynamite, Skip. They're not getting anything in specific. Whatever's blown out of the water, that's what we'll take. And that's what they're trying to do with Zeke. They're saying personal conduct. Personal conduct is really vague, and it's really all-encompassing. I'm not saying that you did this, but you did probably some of this, some of that, some of this. And so once we cast this wide net, whatever we drag up, we're going to take. The NFL need to be shaming themselves, because I just want to know this. How could Adam Schefter get that information about 5 minutes after the NFL handed down their ruling? How could he get that, Skip? They waited until we was off the air.
They did.
Because our Chris Carter said that in the next 24 to 48 hours, and he kind of laid out step by step how the NFL was going to plot their case.
And maybe they didn't want to give us a quick early shot at destroying them in the court of public opinion. Maybe.
So what did they do, Skip? Hey, Adam, we got something for you.
Yep.
Hey, go ahead. I'm trying to figure, just help me figure out, Skip. I'm going to turn it over to you, Skip. Can you tell me, 5 minutes after they hand down their verdict, Adam Schefter is breaking news, strolling across everybody's screen. Ezekiel Elliott is suspended 6 games for personal conduct policy. Boy, the NFL need to stop.
So this has officially gotten vicious on both sides. And before I make my statement, allow me to say, you know how much I love the game that the NFL puts on the field?
Absolutely.
I love it, man. I just about live for it. Love my NBA too, but I love me some NFL. I do not love the men who run the NFL. Right now, especially, the commissioner of the NFL disgusts me because we haven't even mentioned, because it's not even part of this battle, that the commissioner has now opted not to join the commission that he appointed to interview either Ezekiel or his accuser, and he's not going to participate in the appeals process. Harold Henderson, the guy he always names to go do this, so now the commissioner can say, don't blame me. I don't know. But wait, you're the guy who handed down, slammed the gavel down on 6 games, right?
Without hearing testimony from either Ezekiel Elliott and said accuser.
Not a sentence from either one of them. Really? Okay, so you read the reports, but you had to leap to the 6-game conclusion, right?
Correct.
Okay, so as you say, and I don't need to beat that dead horse or pile on anymore, the NFL wrote the book on leaking stories. So this is shameful that they would even dare to accuse the other side of leaking, right?
Right.
I mean, it's not even shameful. It's just sadly hilarious is what it is. Yeah. The NFL lives for its image, winning in the court of public opinion, so it's all about public perception, so it's often leaked, what I call just propaganda to win in the court of public opinion. And apparently, the all-powerful NFL, the big bad National Football League, greatest game in the world to me, feels so insecure about its case against Ezekiel Elliott that it felt like it had to issue a statement defending the honor of its star witness against Ezekiel Elliott.
Right.
Now, obviously, as Joy well knows, and we've talked about before on the show, there has been a history in domestic violence cases of attacking and shaming the victim. And it could be operating in this case. And just for the record, let's get it straight again. Let's get it right out in the middle of the table. No matter how questionable her integrity or character, she still could have been battered by Ezekiel Elliott on those 3 days in question before the night in question, which she called the police.
Who the woman is, what her occupation is, should have no bearing on whether or not she was abused or not, or to be believed or not.
And back to your original point, look, we know one thing about this case. Zeke pulled down the other woman's top up on the roof.
Yes.
St. Patrick's Parade Day, right?
Yes.
He pulled it down because we have the video.
Yeah.
Conclusive proof. So if the NFL wants to suspend Ezekiel Elliott for 2 games because he pulled the woman's top down, I am good with that. You will hear no argument from me.
0 from me either.
But if it's 6 games for domestic violence, which will forever taint and stain Ezekiel Elliott's reputation.
That is correct.
You better show me conclusive proof.
Yes.
I still haven't seen it yet. I haven't heard it yet. And the NFL is now operating on the slipperiest of slopes. And it's a good one for the NFL to be on because it's hard to fight it. And that slope is she said, and then he said, and then she said, and he said. And that's pretty much what we have, right?
And the commissioner said, Article 46.
46.
I can do whatever I want.
I am judge, jury, and executioner.
That is correct.
Even though I'm going to appoint this commission to tell me what to quote unquote do, but then I'm going to do it.
What they think happened, and then I'll just.
And just again for the record, given that slippery slope and the accuser's credibility as a star witness, the police department's in Columbus, Ohio, and you can say they're biased because Ohio State's located in Columbus, but there's another police department in Fort Lauderdale, and they investigated and they questioned thoroughly this accuser, and they found her testimony not to be credible, to be wildly inconsistent, contradictory, inaccurate.
Those are the terms
Right.
they use, Skip.
All right. And she was caught in one lie for sure. That doesn't mean everything was a lie, but she was caught in the biggest lie, which was on that night in question.
Yes.
When she said he had abused her on that night.
Right.
In which she called the police, and we know all the rest of the testimony from eyewitnesses where she had screamed at him because he had sort of kicked her out of his birthday bash. I'm going to ruin your career. So we got a lot of he said, we got a lot of she said. We have some witness testimony other than these two.
Yeah.
And I'm still stuck in limbo. I don't know what to believe, but I'm not convinced that he battered her on 3 previous occasions.
Right.
So now we come down to, we have 2 police departments that said no, and we have, according to the Four Star Telegram report, and I assume it's somewhere in somebody's report, Lisa Friel, former sex case prosecutor in New York City, hired by the commissioner post-Ray Rice debacle to advise him on domestic violence, said, I cannot vouch for or sign off on her credibility as a witness because her testimony is
Wishy-washy at best.
contradictory, misled investigators a couple of times.
At worst, she's lying.
Okay, so why would the NFL then need to defend her publicly, which is odd? We haven't even started the appeals process.
Thank you.
Are you a little nervous about your case, about your witness? So you got to put us all on that slippery slope of don't witness shame, don't attack the witness. I mean the victim here. This we should say alleged victim.
Correct.
Don't attack her. It's shameful you would do this. Well, is it? Maybe it's part and parcel of trying to prove Zeke's innocence that you do have to show what her credibility is. I don't know. That's where I'm left.
Skip, how is victim shaming pointing out inconsistencies in her story? As I said, they didn't say she was an exotic dancer. They didn't say she worked as a call girl. They didn't say she had 15, she was a college co-ed and she had all these partners. That's not what they said. They said there are inconsistencies in her story. And the NFL chose to pick what they believe to be true while disregarding the inconsistencies. How is that victim shaming? But hold on. There's also there's a second party here. What about Zeke? Isn't he shamed? What's the scarlet letter that he will be, if this goes through, what scarlet letter is he going to be strapped with? A domestic abuser. So doesn't Zeke have the right to defend his name, his honor? I'm not saying Zeke is a saint.
He's not.
But that man has every right to defend his name, to defend his family's name. And pointing out inconsistencies in the story that she told on different occasions. Skip, it was told to me that she told her friend, called her friend. They have text messages between her and her girlfriend. Tell the officer that when we arrived, Zeke pulled me out of the car. Well, that didn't happen, but tell him anyway. Skip!
Okay.
Really?
Help us out, Joy. Weigh in.
The NFL is in really dangerous territory here. When Chris Carter first came on the show and said that they were going to make this announcement about his suspension, we assumed that whatever was going to come out was going to be concrete and clear. So now they're back in the Ray Rice territory, but on the flip side of it. Because if this ends up being a complete botch job and Zeke is cleared of all of this and it turns out that she was lying, you've just set back the clock, however, right back to the beginning.
Yes.
Before Ray Rice.
Before Ray Rice, before you even had this policy.
Right, because the 6 games, everyone's focusing on the amount, the 6 games. That's supposed to be the standard. That's what it's supposed to be. So the amount of games, well, there should be 2 or should be 4, is irrelevant. It's 6 games if it happens. So focusing on the amount of games is silly. This is what the policy is supposed to be.
I agree.
So it's not about 6 games, which is why, to your point, they can't reduce the game.
You can't.
What's the point of having a 6-game
Or
policy
you can
anyway?
reduce it to 0 if you say he's
It's 6 or it's nothing.
Yeah.
It's 6 or it's nothing.
But if you remember now, Commissioner Goodell handed down Greg Hardy 10 games. Harold Henderson came in and it reduced to 4.
But big difference. Greg Hardy lost the bench trial. Because the judge said, you are guilty. But in North Carolina, then you get a shot at a jury trial. And the alleged victim, who was then the proven victim in a bench trial, went away.
Yep.
And the authorities told reporters that they were told she had been paid off.
Right.
So now Harold Henderson's in a little bit of a sticky situation here because she gave up the fight so he could say, well, okay, maybe we got to come back to 4 games on this one. This is completely different because we still have dug in over here and dug in over here. He said and she said.
Well, that's why it brings me back to what we were talking about the other day, which is either all of this did happen and she is a sketchy character, and we all know about Zeke's credibility issues.
Right.
But
you know what? I'll call him a sketchy character too.
sure,
Because he's had all kinds of
and
issues.
the abuse did happen, but it's just going to be murky because of those issues. B, they've completely botched it, and she's lying, and she tried to frame him, and then we have a disaster of epic proportions on our hands. Or there's just another ball that has to drop, and when it does, it'll clear everything up.